Dear secondary stage students, year 1, welcome to our English program. Today we are going to continue Unit 7, Part 3. In the last 2 episodes, we talked about health and safety. How can we keep our health and our safety? Today we are going to continue this unit and we are going to talk about a very important part. This is a grammar. How can we give advice? Let's start by the objectives of our unit today. By the end of this unit, you are going to be able to use should and shouldn't, must and mustn't. You're going to use should and shouldn't for advice, and use must and mustn't for rules and for strong advice. You're going also to write an email giving advice to a friend who has a problem. Okay, let's start. What is the difference between must and should? Look at these 2 sentences and tell me the difference. You should see a doctor. You must see a doctor. What is the difference between these 2 sentences? Of course, in the first sentence, you should see a doctor. This is just advice or opinion or suggestion. So I suggest that you see a doctor, or I advise you to see a doctor, or it's my opinion that you see a doctor. What about you must see a doctor? Must tells you that it's necessary to see a doctor. So here it's a strong advice. So the difference between should and must is that must is stronger than should. It's a strong advice and it indicates also necessity. There are other ways of talking about advice. If you wanted to give someone advice, there are other ways rather than should. You can say you should. What else can we use? We can say you should see a doctor, or it's advisable to see a doctor, or it's desirable to see a doctor. We can say also you had better see a doctor. We can say, if I were you, I would see a doctor. If I were you, if I were in your place, I would see a doctor. Or you ought to see a doctor. You see the word ought, you should use to with ought. You ought to see a doctor. So we have other ways of saying, of giving advice rather than should. What about must? Must can express strong advice. So you can say you must hand in the homework. You must hand in the home assignment tomorrow. It's the deadline. It's the last time you should hand in your homework or your home assignment. So you must. Again, we can say drivers must wear seat belts. Here it's a rule. So it's necessary for drivers to wear seat belts. It's necessary to wear seat belts. Other ways of expressing necessity. There are other ways also of expressing necessity. If I want to say that something is necessary, we can say must. What else can we use? We can use have to or have got to. So we can say, if you want to apply for this job, you have to apply tomorrow. It's the deadline. So you have to means it's a must. It's necessary. You have to. You have no other choice. It's something necessary. But must can be used for other things. It can express, for example, warm invitation. If I wanted to invite you to my party, for example, I will say, you must come to my party. Here I don't express necessity, but I express warm invitation. You must come to my party. Or recommendation. You must see this film. When I say you must see this film, it means that I recommend that you see this film or you watch this film. Again, the word must can express rules, as we said before. So we can say students must wear uniforms. It's the school rule here that students must wear school uniform. What about the negative form, shouldn't or mustn't? For advice, when something is inadvisable, means it's not advisable to do this thing, I advise you not to do it, we say you shouldn't. And we can say also you oughtn't to, or you shouldn't. You shouldn't waste your time. I advise you not to waste your time, so you shouldn't waste your time. For prohibition or something forbidden, when something is forbidden, it's not allowed. You mustn't do this, so you mustn't eat this food, it's poisonous. Here I don't just advise you, I say it's something forbidden. You mustn't do this ever because it's dangerous. You mustn't eat this food. Can we say here you shouldn't? No, you mustn't eat this food because it's poisonous. Okay? What about don't have to? What is the difference between mustn't and don't have to? Mustn't, something is forbidden, something it's not allowed, but don't have to or needn't means something which is not necessary. Something which is not necessary. You can do or you cannot do it, it's your choice. So it's optional. You can do it or not. So when we express lack of necessity, means something which is not necessary, we say you don't have to. You don't have to get up early, it's a holiday. Suppose that it's a Friday and we don't have to get up early. We don't have to go to school on Friday, so we say we don't have to get up early. Can we use mustn't here in this sentence? No, of course not. We can't use mustn't because it's not forbidden to get up early. We can get up early on a holiday, but we needn't or we don't have to. It's not necessary for us. So when something is not necessary, we use don't have to. When something is not allowed, we use mustn't. Again, we can use needn't. You needn't hurry. We still have plenty of time. So when we have plenty of time, we don't have to hurry or we needn't hurry because we have still a lot of time. Okay? So again, we use mustn't when something is forbidden, something is not allowed. So we say you mustn't smoke in a gas station, means it's not allowed. You mustn't make noise in a library, means it's not allowed. But when I say you don't have to hurry, we still have time, means it's not necessary for you to hurry. Okay? Look at this chart here and match the description with the sentence. Which sentence of these express advice? Look at the 4 sentences and tell me which one of them express advice, which one express strong advice, suggestion, rule, or law. Let me remind you that we use should to give advice, or to make suggestion, or to give opinion. And we use must to express rules, or strong advice, or necessity. Okay? So what sentence of these express advice? Yes, of course, here you are. Advice, we say you shouldn't leave your bin open. The rubbish bin shouldn't be left open. So you shouldn't leave your bin open. This is advice. What about strong advice? When do we use strong advice? Yes, very good. We use you mustn't eat too much salt because it's dangerous for you to eat too much salt. So you mustn't eat too much salt. So we use must or mustn't here for strong advice. What about suggestion? You should have different bins for food waste. So when we have food waste, we should separate the waste into separate bins. So it's a suggestion here. So we use should, again, for advice or for suggestion or for opinion. What about the last one? Yes, of course, it expresses law or rule. So we say you must always stop at red lights. This is a rule. This is a law that you stop at the red lights. Now let's have a very easy quiz. Look at the picture and tell me which word will you use. Will you use must, mustn't, should, or shouldn't? Here we have in the picture someone washing his hand. So we can say you wash your hands. Which word is suitable? Must, mustn't, should, or shouldn't? Of course, this is advice. So we say you should wash your hands more often. As we said in our lesson, when we talked about how to keep our health, how to keep clean, we said that it's advisable to clean our hands before eating, after playing with pets, and so on. So we say you should wash your hands more often. Number 2, look at this girl. What is she doing? She is sneezing. She is sneezing, as you see in the picture. So what should we use when we sneeze? Of course, we should use a tissue. As you see here in the picture, you should use a tissue, or you must. We can use both must and should here, but must is stronger. So when you sneeze, it's very dangerous because you will spread the virus everywhere. So it's better to say you must. Okay? Is it wrong if we say you should? No, it's not wrong. But must is stronger. So we say you must use tissue when you sneeze. What about this picture? Someone is using a sponge to clean the pan. So what should we say about this sentence? You keep the same sponge in the kitchen for months. Should we leave the sponge in the kitchen for months? Of course, it's very dangerous to keep the sponge in the kitchen for months because it will spread the bacteria. So here again we say you mustn't, because it's something dangerous. You mustn't keep the same sponge in the kitchen for months. Look at this picture. Someone is playing with the dog, a pet animal. Do you remember? We said that it's not advisable to play with dogs and then eat, for example, or whatever. So you prepare food after touching pets. You mustn't prepare food after touching pets. Of course, we can prepare food after touching the pet, but of course we should first wash our hands. So you mustn't prepare food after touching pets without washing your hands. Look at this picture. You get up early, it's a holiday. As we said before, it's a holiday. So what should we use here? Can we say you mustn't or you shouldn't get up early? Or we use needn't, you needn't get up early. Of course, here it's something optional. It's a holiday and it's not necessary for me to get up early, but it's optional. I can get up early or not. So you needn't get up early. It's a holiday. You needn't get up early. It's a holiday. Here we have some situations for you, and you can again think and tell me some response, how can you give advice in these different situations. What actions are necessary in these situations? What actions can you take in these situations? Here, look at this picture. What can you see? Someone has broken his or her arm. What do we use? Someone has broken his or her arm. What do we say? I think you should keep a person still. What's still? Still means you don't move this person. I think you should keep the person still if he or she has broken his arm. Keep him still, don't move him. So you should. Here we give advice with should. Look at the other sentence. Someone has burned his or her hand. What can you say here? What advice can you give? I think you should put it under running water. When someone burns his hand, you put it under running water. Okay, so I think you should put it under running water. Here again we use should for giving advice. Look at number 3. If there is a fire and someone is injured, if there is a fire and someone is injured, what can you do? If there is a fire and someone caught fire, as you see here in the picture, what can we do? We can say, I think you should wrap a blanket around the injured person. Do you remember the word wrap? To cover something with. So to wrap means to cover. So wrap the person with a blanket to stop the oxygen and to stop the fire spreading. So wrap a blanket around the injured person. Here we have some exercises for you. And remember, when can we use must, mustn't, should, shouldn't, needn't, don't have to. Number 1, you always boil tap water before you drink it. Here we have 4 options: shouldn't, can't, mustn't, or should. Of course, here we have 3 negative words and only 1 affirmative. So let's look again at the sentence and see which thing would we want. We want it affirmative or negative advice. You always boil tap water before you drink it. Of course, it's something advisable to boil tap water. So we can use should. You should always boil tap water before you drink it to kill the bacteria, to kill the viruses in it. So it's advisable. When something is advisable, we use should. Question number 2. You eat any food that smells bad. You eat any food that smells bad. Of course, it's something dangerous to eat a bad food which smells very bad. So here we use shouldn't, must, mustn't, ought to. Again, we have negative and affirmative. We have shouldn't, mustn't, this is negative, and we have must and ought to, this is affirmative. Of course, something, a food which smells very bad, so we want a negative. Now, which one is better, shouldn't or mustn't? We said that when it is a strong advice, we use mustn't. And here it's a strong advice because when the food smells bad, it will be dangerous. It will cause us illness, for example. So it's very dangerous. And when it is something which will cause us danger, we use mustn't. So do you remember when we said you mustn't eat this food, it's poisonous. We don't use shouldn't, we use mustn't because it's a strong advice, okay? Let's look at number 3. It's dangerous to drive so fast. It's dangerous to drive so fast. You drive more slowly. Again, it's dangerous. Do you remember when something is dangerous? It's dangerous to drive so fast. You drive more slowly. So you shouldn't, should, mustn't, or ought. Do you remember the word ought is equal to the word should, but it needs to. So if I wanted to use ought, I must say you ought to. And here we don't have to, so we can't use ought. So we are going to use should. You should drive more slowly. Okay? It's dangerous to drive fast. But what can we do? We shouldn't drive fast. We should drive slowly. We should drive slowly. Question number 4. If you have touched an infected bird means a bird which has a disease. An infected bird, a bird which has a virus, for example. So if you have touched an infected bird, you wash very well. This is advice. And we have must, could, can't, or ought. Which one we are going to use? Yes, very good. We are going to use must because it's strong advice. Now, why can't we use ought? Ought is used like should for advice. But do you remember that it must take to? We must say ought to. And here we don't have to. So we say you must wash very well. And again, because it's very dangerous to touch an infected bird, so must is a strong advice. Number 5. This is a really good book. You read it. Do you remember that must has many use other than necessity? It's not only for necessity. It can express recommendation. It can express invitation, warm invitation. So here in this sentence, I recommend this book. This is really a good book. So you read it. You must, may, might, or ought to. Of course, here we are going to use must because it's a recommendation. So again, we use must when we recommend something for someone. So must is not only for necessity. Remember, I will repeat again. Must for necessity, for recommendation, for warm invitation, for rules and laws, and of course it's for necessity. Okay? Question number 6. You park here. It's no parking area. The word no parking means that it's not allowed, it's forbidden to park your car here. So we say you needn't. You needn't means it's optional. You can do it or not. You mustn't, don't have to, ought to. Let me remind you, خليني أفكركم تاني إن كلمة mustn't إحنا بنستخدمها ليه؟ علشان necessity. Something necessary, something it's forbidden, it's not allowed to do it. But we use needn't or don't have to when something is optional. What does it mean optional? Means you can do it or not. So when I say it's a holiday, you needn't get up early, means it's optional. You can get up early or not. طب here the sentence said no parking. No parking means it's not allowed to park here. It's forbidden to park here. You can't park your car here. So we use mustn't or don't have to. Of course, we use mustn't because mustn't means something which is not allowed. But needn't or don't have to means something which is not necessary. Okay, let's go back to our sentence. You mustn't park your car here. It's a no parking area. So you mustn't park your car here. Question number 7. It's sunny in Egypt. It is for you to wear a hat. It's sunny in Egypt. It's sunny, the sun is very hot in Egypt, so it's for you to wear a hat. It's advisable for you to wear a hat. What does it mean, it's advisable? Means I advise you to wear a hat in Egypt because the sun is very strong. So it's advisable to. Look at this structure again. It's advisable to. What does it mean, it's advisable to? Means you should wear a hat or you ought to wear a hat. Or if I were you, I would wear a hat. Question number 8. It is for any driver to wear seat belt. What does this sentence express? It expresses a rule or a law that all drivers must wear seat belt. So we here say it's necessary. We have it's not necessary, it's forbidden, it's inadvisable. It's inadvisable means it's not advisable. Of course, it's necessary for any driver to wear a seat belt. So it's necessary means that drivers must wear seat belts. When we say it's advisable, means they should. It's inadvisable means they shouldn't. It's necessary means they must. So it's necessary for any driver to wear seat belt. Question number 9. We to have different bins everywhere for food waste. Of course, this is a suggestion. So we can use we ought to. Why didn't we use should? Focus on this sentence and tell me why didn't we use should? We wanted to express advice, so why didn't we use should? Because here we have to in the sentence. We can't say you should to, but we can say you ought to. So the word ought takes to. We ought to have different bins everywhere for food waste. Question number 10. You had better your keyboard frequently. You had better is equal to should, and it takes a verb infinitive. So you had better clean. You had better clean your keyboard frequently. Frequently means more often. Question number 11. It's to wash your hands very carefully. Can we say it's banned? It's banned means it's forbidden. So we have it's banned, it's forbidden, it's prohibited. All these words give the same meaning. But it's desirable means you should do it. So it's desirable to wash your hands very carefully. It's desirable means something is advisable. But it's banned or forbidden or prohibited means it's not allowed. Question number 12. Children taught to respect their elders. Of course, this is a passive form. Children should be taught. Here we have the passive form of should or must. Should be or must be plus past participle. Children should be taught to respect their elders. Okay, so we finished talking about our grammar part. Let me remind you that we talked about must and mustn't, should and shouldn't, needn't, have to and have got to. And we said that must is a strong advice, should is for advice, and the must is for strong advice. Here we have writing an email. I want every one of you to write an email, and as we said before, that the email has 4 parts: header, a greeting, body, and the closing. Of course, the greeting and the closing could be formal or informal. It could be formal, so we can say to our friends hi or hello, regards from, see you later when we end the email, or love from. But when we talk about our boss, our teacher, someone who is not familiar to us, we say dear Mr. or dear Mrs. and we end with yours sincerely or yours faithfully. This is the greeting and the closing of a formal and informal letter. So for you to write an email to ask someone or to give someone advice about a problem. So here think of some helpful ideas and suggestions for a friend who has a problem. So I want every one of you to write an email like this. Think of a problem and talk to a friend about this problem and give him advice how to solve this problem. Of course, when we write the email, we must use the header, means the sender email address and the recipient email address, and the subject why we write this email for giving advice. And then we have the greeting. Hi Maher, this is a greeting. And of course this is informal because he is a friend. Then we have the body. I am writing this email to suggest some helpful ideas, so this is the body of the email. And then we end the email with wish you best of luck in your exams, regards Amr. I want every one of you to write an email like this. Choose one problem and give your friend advice about it. So here, for example, hi Meher, I'm writing you this email to suggest some helpful ideas for you concerning Mrs. Zainab. I think it would be a good idea to find a nurse who can look after her. You can help her empty the bins and do the shopping, but you should find someone to clean the house at least once a week. Wish you best of luck in your exams, regards. Okay, so try to write an email like this, give advice to your friend, use the grammar we have taken to use must or mustn't, should or shouldn't. It will be very easy for you, and you will practice how to write a good email. This is the end of our lesson today. Till we meet again, wish you best of luck. Goodbye.